What's up, YouTube? This is MoDude, King of Bong Style. Today's Sunday. Tomorrow we have Raw. Figured I'd do a video today, but I didn't know what. I'll be doing my top 10 favorite wrestlers of all time, personal use. Now, this isn't based off skill or who's a better wrestler. It's just my opinion on who I think mattered the most to me, who have had the most impact on my wrestling fandom. Now, it is kind of controversial the way I set my top 10. Like I said, it is not based off skill, just solely on impact. For instance, number 10 on my list is Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy is probably the coolest wrestler on my list, and when I say coolest, I mean he's a rocker. We're all rockers, so that was pretty impactful because you had wrestling. All these guys are big, tough guys and stuff. Attitude era. Then Jeff Hardy and Matt come along, and they just changed the game. Appearance-wise, that's a plus for me. Number 9. Some of you may not agree. A lot of you may not agree, but I have Undertaker as my number 9. I started watching during the Attitude Era, and vividly I can remember all of Undertaker's attire during that time, and it was just insane. I think that's what captivated me the most. Aside from his in-ring skill, he was just a very believable character for me at the time, and at my age, I was a small kid, so I was actually I wasn't afraid, but I was fearful. I remember my first pay-per-view, Royal Rumble here in San Antonio, Alamo Dome. I don't know, I was probably maybe 2 years old. Undertaker comes out, dong. We had front row seats. I was only a freaking kid, so when I hear his shit, man, I couldn't handle it. So unfortunately, we had to move up to the nosebleeds, and I kind of fucked that up for everybody. But it's things like that that keep you around. It would have scared most people away, but I was chilling. Number 8, based off badassness and just brute force, Bruiser Brody, which I think he was killed by Carlos Colon. I don't know shit. The hometown kid, Shawn Michaels, makes his way on to number 7 on my list. I prefer Attitude Era Shawn Michaels because he was more of an asshole and more of a relatable character, and everything kind of changed, and his promos became longer, and they weren't as authentic as they used to be. I think maybe it was in his voice, when he'd cut a promo. I don't know. Brock Lesnar comes in at number 6 on my list. I like what Brock Lesnar has been doing since he's come back from UFC, or since he actually first started doing UFC. A lot of people don't like that he's an asshole outside of wrestling, doesn't care for the business, and this and that. But to me, he's just staying in character mode, even though it is his real life and that is how he is as a person. I mean, it goes hand in hand with his on-screen character. So you see him on screen as an asshole, when you run into him in person, he's gonna be an asshole. So you have every reason to believe that everybody else on the roster are their counterpart, I guess. And then you get to wrestlers like Dean Ambrose, who they have a silly character gimmick, and they act this way and the other, but then you wouldn't catch them like that in real life. And I think that's what separates a lot of those wrestlers from the Attitude Era wrestlers. Number 5, phenomenal one, AJ Styles. There's just so many reasons why. He looks cool as fuck. Great moveset. Every match he has, I'm just captivated in. To me, AJ Styles coming to WWE was, I don't want to say I jumped on the bandwagon, but I definitely did kind of give up on AJ since he was still stuck with TNA, and then he moved to NJ, and I never saw him. I didn't think he would ever step foot in the WWE ring. When it happened, it was just like so much weight was lifted. Very satisfied WWE on that one. Aside from that, I mean, you guys are kind of pulling everything together. You're not quite there yet. CM Punk, obvious reasons. Number 4, CM Punk, my guy. Really brought the attitude back for this new movement, the new wave of wrestling, from 2011 all the way to 2015. That was just a bad time, and then CM Punk really like found himself, and he didn't find himself. He found where he needed to be in terms of his character, WWE wise. So he figured out what it needed to take to get over at each time, and he did it without problem. I mean, people still want him. We chant his name all the time, like, yeah. Number 3, Shinsuke Nakamura. I never really knew who he was until NXT came, or until he signed up with NXT. And I looked into him, all his old stuff, his fighting stuff. Man, he is the king of strong style. That for me, that's another plus. When you can lay a hit on somebody, make it look as real as possible, without it actually being like super stiff, even though they are stiff, and he does lay them on the wrestlers. But I think the more believable, the better for business, because I mean, we're at a point to where a lot of people have left because they realized it was fake. They always had that they were always skeptical about it. And then finally, they said, fuck it, you know what, I'm done investing time. Well, when wrestlers like him make it believable, people come back. Old viewers come back. They return home. Number 2, The Rock. I would say, I don't want to call him a co-star. I would say the other megastar of the Attitude Era, The Rock. Started from nothing, built himself to be where he needed to be. He had a vision for what needed to be done, and he accomplished that. Now, it wasn't easy, but he did it. He got through. He beat the adversity, and he got over. He got over on everyone. Whether you liked him or you hated him, you knew who he was. Same with him. His style, when he slapped the shit out of you, he slapped the shit out of you. Or if he kicked you, he kicked you. You took one of his drops. He took one of his drops hard. He made it believable for the average fan. He made it easy to invest time in something. I mean, he's such a relatable character, along with my number 1 pick, Stone Cold Steve Austin. These two guys are somebody that we all know. We all know a Stone Cold. We all know a Rocky. It helps that Austin and Rock on screen are Austin and Rock off screen. There's not much of a difference between their characters and their real life. And I think that comes from the heart. When cutting promos, mannerisms, little details in the ring. Obviously, all 10 of these guys have amazing skill sets. Very good wrestlers, talented. Most of them can whoop some ass. I would say maybe AJ Styles, we'd have to see what's up. CM Punk, he just has to give it one more try, and then he'll get his flow going. I think he just needed to get hit a couple times, see what it felt like. HBK, I mean, obviously, Bruiser Brody, Taker, Lesnar, and Nakamura are legit hard asses. Jeff Hardy, you can tell off the bat he's just a guy you wouldn't want to fight, because you wouldn't win. I mean, he probably wouldn't knock you out, but you're definitely not going to beat him. I'm not a fan of corny gimmicks given to the characters, given to the wrestlers. Um, it just takes away from the authenticity of an actual wrestling match. Cause it's hard to really watch a wrestling match and not think about why you're watching it. It's predetermined. And I just think when you have wrestlers like Nakamura and Punk and Styles who aren't afraid to hit each other and be hit, it just makes it much more real. Or it feels real at least. Weed, baby. Weed. But yeah, that was my top 10 wrestlers. Mixture. Well, mainly WWF seeded, but it's alright. Well, it's just my personal preference. If it offends you, I do apologize. But it shouldn't. In fact, you should probably make your own top 10, so that way we can all come together and discuss why or why not. Aside from that, I'll be here tomorrow for some raw shit. Be doing a couple videos for whatever goes on there. Hopefully something cool happens. More than likely it's not, but you never know with the way things are going these days. Hopefully some badass